Greetings and welcome to another video. Now, before you sit there and think, oh my dear God, not another video on passing. I mean, it is a video on passing, but this one's a little bit different because, I've been quite happy to read most of the positive comments because without being dramatic, most of the comments, I'd say like 99% of the comments I get are positive, and even those not necessarily meaning like everyone agrees with me, right? But they're just positive in the sense that we have good discussions. And then there's like less than 1% of comments are just negative, and negative could include comments that agree with me, but just they're not really constructive, they're not helping anyone. And then even the ones that don't agree with me that are negative are just coming at me snarky, just mad at me for making the points that I make. But nonetheless, you'll know that in the past I've made videos on passing, and when you talk about passing, obviously you mean, the assisted passing trajectories on one side. On the other side, you see the poor offensive runs as well, because it's hard to make the right passes if the offense isn't running in the right spaces. But also, you're also talking about defenders' inability to intercept passes they otherwise should. And I've made videos that cover these topics. So what's the point of this video, right? The point of this video is kind of to answer sort of questions. How do you even do these things, right? I'm going to show you guys how to do these things. And I guess I'm going to show you guys an alternative way to break the game. I'm not about breaking the game per se, and I don't think these passes should be viable, but we're at the end of the FIFA cycle. I'm just going to show you guys how, right? This is the previous videos on passing were more of these are the broken passing instances. This video is more of this is how you actually do this, right? And I know a lot of people might really just not like this idea, because why would you condone or why would you spread ways to break the game even more we already have enough problems with? Well, like I said, it's at the end of the game. A lot of people are still confused or just simply not convinced that passing is broken. So this is just yet another way to prove it. And hopefully by putting it out there, maybe it actually gets fixed. All right, but basically when you want to perform a pass that essentially breaks the game and a pass that exploits the flaws of the game that I've spoken about, that is passing assistance, that is poor defensive AI, poor defensive shape, all these things, there are a few things you need to look out for. Number one is just the offensive runs / the positioning of your offensive player. These are just the first hints in a play that will tell you, okay, this is my time to press pass in this moment, or it might be like a warning sign. In the next few seconds, you might have an opportunity to sort of break down the defense and allow the passing assistance to help you. Number two is kind of related to number one, body positioning. What I mean by this is just like the way your offensive players are positioned while calling for the run, but at the same time, the body positioning of the opposing players' defenders, the way they are super inactive allows for a lot of passes that shouldn't go through to go through, and that allows you to sort of cut down, break down defenses, which is always a good thing, but the way it happens is not right. But I guess it's just the result of a game with poor offensive runs and just the foundation of the game being horrible, right? When you have a game where defenses drop back and they don't hold the line and passing is assisted, but at the same time drop back is OP, the only way left to get inside the box is either to El Tornado cross it, Croqueta spam it, or the last way, the least efficient way, but at least the only related way in terms of, being anything close to football is just to abuse the passing assistance. And obviously, the third thing, which is also, I guess, intertwined with body positioning, but more related with the over-committing defender. Sometimes a defender will commit ever so slightly, and that will give you an opening. The first clip I actually wanted to show is a clip from the playoffs recently where Tex was playing against Levy. And this is, the first example I wanted to show you because I want to show you, look, even the best player in the world in FIFA 19 knows about this. Because if you look at this pass, even the commentator at one point said, where has the space come? And as you can see, the space comes from all the flaws that we have spoken about before. Number one, Varane is, for some weird reason, just standing back and holding Neymar on side. This goes back to the video I made exposing defensive AI, how poor, the defensive AI acts in terms of holding their shape and how they always drop back and give people opportunities that otherwise shouldn't be possible. That's issue number one. Issue number two is the fact that Rio Ferdinand, or whoever that center back in front of Neymar is completely inactive. Like, how on God's green earth is he so inactive? How is he ignoring that pass? But it's just how the game works. He moves out the way ever so slightly just to get out of the trajectory. Meanwhile, Neymar is completely locked onto the pass. It's just how things work in this game. And this is just to show you that even at the top level, this works. I mean, it's not even a matter about even at the top level. It's just people know how to exploit this game. And the fact that Tex is using this at the highest stage is the more proof. Nonetheless, getting to the examples I've provided. Now, this run here is nothing special. Actually, it's what usually used to happen in older FIFAs, right? You have the ball with Ronaldinho, George Best makes the run, and you have a clear channel of entry. At this point here, you could press either the ground pass option, or the through ball option. It doesn't really matter because these are clear channels, and these are the sort of chances that would occur in previous FIFAs. And the only way to defend this would be to player switch fast enough, which I think is a fair way. And then if you were a good player switcher, you would be able to sort of stop these passes. But nowadays, these are really rare. These sort of chances don't occur, and the only way to actually find these channels is through passing exploits, situations that occur only because of the flaws of the game, kind of like how we saw in the example previously with Tex. This last situation is probably the biggest example, and it's really similar to the one that Tex had, right? So basically, there's things wrong here that I've already spoken about in past videos. As you can see, one of his defenders is holding the line in such a poor manner and keeping my Eusebio onside, and this relates to the video about drop back, like I said earlier, that I made, and how defenders drop back and they're not able to hold their line regardless of what defensive mentality you have, right? So that's the key number one. Key number two, when you spot this, is obviously Eusebio making the run for us. That's the second hint to find these sort of opportunities. And then the third hint is obviously just the fact that, keep this in mind, always press X instead of triangle, because when you press triangle, there is a good chance that this pass might get intercepted by 3 people, aka the 2 midfielders in the way of the pass, but also, the defender in front of Eusebio. But by pressing X, it sort of creates a weird, really, really weird situation where you actually get the desired pass that you would want with a through ball. And the ball goes through. The first sort of midfielder ignores it, / he just moves out the way. The second lunges and doesn't get close. And the third and final opponent is completely inactive, and it's almost like he's unable to move, right? And then you pass it into Eusebio, and it just exploits everything that's wrong in this game in terms of passing assistance, defensive AI being poor, and not holding their line, and all that stuff. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. As usual, like I said earlier, guys, this is not really a tutorial, but kind of a tutorial, but in the same way, it's also kind of showing you even more the passing assistance in this game. Whereas in the previous videos, I showed which specific instances of passing are wrong. This time, I showed you exactly how to do them, so you can try and replicate these yourself at home and further, understand exactly that passing assistance is actually, a really big issue in this game. Hopefully it gets fixed in the future. This is obviously the goal. We're in the end of the FIFA 19 cycle, so I feel like it doesn't really matter at this point. And until next time, obviously, peace out.